This is Robin on the Road, your concierge for all things travel, and today I'd like to take you on the road with me to Arlington National Cemetery and a tour of the Memorial Amphitheater and Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Pack your bags, let's go! On a recent on-the-road trip to Arlington, Virginia, I had the pleasure of visiting Arlington National Cemetery. I have been to Arlington many times during my life, and I can tell you it is one of the most beautiful places to visit. Set on the hills above Washington, D.C., the cemetery will affect you, and the memories of this place will stay with you for the rest of your life. For it's in these hallowed grounds that the story of our country and the men and women who fought for it is not only told, but visualized. A very thorough search will be conducted before you enter the visitor center. Water may be purchased or brought in, but no food or alcohol is permitted. Open 365 days a year, the hours are seasonal. Maps and brochures, significant history and information can be found at the visitor center. Tickets for the tour bus can also be purchased here. Check the Arlington website and make sure that the days you are visiting that the bus is running. There is a bookstore located at the visitor center as well. Bathrooms are here, plus at the Tomb of the Unknown and the mansion. Plan before you visit Arlington. There are so many graves and a lot of ground to cover. The Arlington website is an excellent resource. Wheelchairs and strollers are not rented at the visitor center but can be accommodated. There is paid parking lot at the cemetery and a metro stop just outside the gates. I was at the cemetery for 6 hours, and it was not possible for me to visit all the graves that I had on my list. The Memorial Amphitheater was dedicated May 15, 1920. 5,000 visitors a year attend 3 major memorial services on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and Easter. Although President Taft orders it built when Tanner Amphitheater becomes too small to conduct services, President Woodrow Wilson will lay the cornerstone. Designed by Thomas Hastings, the building consists primarily of Vermont Danby marble. Inscriptions above the colonnade list 44 battles fought by the U.S. military from the Revolution to the Spanish-American War. There are also 14 U.S. Army generals and 14 Navy admirals, all from World War I, inscribed on either side of the stage. Inside the apse reads, "When we assumed the soldier, we did not lay aside the citizen," from Washington's 1775 letter. The amphitheater is still used for funerals and memorials. Interior space includes a chapel and memorial display room, which now features exhibits on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier guards. A restroom is located here also. Behind the amphitheater is the tomb or tombs of the unknown soldier. In March 1926, soldiers from a nearby fort were first assigned to guard the tomb of the unknown soldier. Present only during daylight hours, they discouraged visitors from climbing or stepping on the tomb. In 1937, the guards will become a 24/7 presence. Military guard at the tomb changes ceremony every hour on the hour from October 1st through March 31st, and every half an hour April 1st through September 30th. This ceremony is worth your time, and it's the Tomb of the Unknown that really resonates at Arlington. 24 hours a day, soldiers from the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment, known as the Old Guard, stand over the tomb. The tomb guards, also called sentinels, are chosen for this prestigious and highly selective post only after rigorous training and a demanding series of examinations. The Old Guard has held this distinguished duty since 1948.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I am Sentinel Archer of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army. Guard of Honor, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard. In keeping with the dignity of this ceremony, it is requested that everyone remain silent and standing.
The tomb guard marches exactly 21 steps down a black mat behind the tomb, turns, faces east for 21 seconds, turns and faces north for 21 seconds, then takes 21 steps down the mat and repeats the process. The number 21 symbolizes the highest military honor that can be bestowed. Think of a 21-gun salute. Next, the sentinel executes a sharp shoulder arms movement to place the weapon on his shoulder closest to the visitors, signifying that he or she stands between the tomb and any possible threat. The sentinels of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier stand watch 24 hours a day, 365 days a year in any weather. Each soldier must be in superb physical condition and possess an unblemished military record, and stand between 5'8" and 6'4" feet tall, with weight and build proportional. The tomb guards work on 3 relief rotations. Each relief has 1 commander and about 6 sentinels. The 3 reliefs are organized by height so that those in each guard change ceremony look similar in appearance. The sentinels wear the army dress blue uniform reminiscent of color and style worn by soldiers in the late 1800s. Sentinels are rigorously tested and must memorize over 300 graves and their location at Arlington. Both men and women can serve on this duty. A white marble sarcophagus has stood on a hill overlooking Washington, D.C. since 1921, and it has provided the final resting place for one of America's unidentified World War I service members, and unknowns from later wars were added in 1958 and 1984. One of the consequences of warfare has been large numbers of unidentified dead, from poor record keeping or damage beyond identity, or the need for quick burial. Prior to the Civil War, unknown remains were buried in mass graves. These include unknown soldiers and sailors from the War of 1812 who were discovered buried at the Washington Barracks and reburied at Arlington Cemetery in 1905. At Arlington National Cemetery, there are individual Civil War unknown burials. While exact numbers are unknown, estimates indicate that nearly half of the Civil War dead were unidentified. During the Spanish-American War, identification rates went up significantly as the Army Quartermaster Corps employed burial corps. Dog tanks came along during World War I, but so did the question about repatriating or reburial of U.S. soldiers lost overseas. 3,000 from the Spanish-American War was very different from 100,000 casualties future wars would create. In 1920, New York Congressman and World War I veteran Hamilton Fish Jr. proposed legislation that provided for the interment of one unknown American soldier at a special tomb to be built at Arlington Cemetery. The purpose of the legislation was to bring home the body of an unknown American warrior who in himself represents no section, creed, or race in the late war, and who typifies moreover the soul of America and the supreme sacrifice of the heroic dead. In October 1921, 4 bodies of unidentified U.S. military personnel were exhumed from different American military cemeteries in France. The unknown arrived at the Washington Navy Yard, and in November 1921, they arrived in Washington, D.C., and the unknown lay in state at the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. About 90,000 visitors paid their respects during the public visiting period in November of 1921. The size of World War II made the selection of an unknown much more complicated. The Army will exhume 13 bodies from North Africa and Europe and 5 bodies from the Pacific Front. Additionally, 4 bodies will be exhumed for an unknown from the Korean War, and in May of 1958, all 3 caskets will be placed on the deck of the Canberra, and a Korean War Medal of Honor recipient will choose the World War II unknown. The Korean unknown will be chosen by Army Master Sergeant Ned Lyle. Arlington will begin preparation to add a crypt for the Vietnam unknown. But advances in identification mean that soldiers are easier to identify. By May of 1984, only one set of recovered remains had not been identified. On Memorial Day 1984, President Ronald Reagan presides over the internment ceremony at Arlington. These remains will remain unknown for 14 years when DNA confirmed that they were Air Force First Lieutenant Michael Joseph Lacey. There is no loud talking, smoking, gum chewing, or any other disrespectful behavior allowed at the tomb of the unknown soldier. These sentinels will stop and they will yell at you. Things to know before you go. Arlington National Cemetery is open daily from 8 to 5. Water may be brought in or purchased, but no other food or beverages are allowed. A thorough bag check and 100% ID check is conducted at the Visitor Center. Parking is $3 an hour with a max of $12. No pets except for those with disabilities are allowed. Tram tours depart every 20 minutes from 8:30 to 4:30. The tour is a live narrated loop and an on-again, off-again tour that makes 4 stops. Tickets can be purchased at the Visitor Center or online. Check with the cemetery as trams do not run on special occasion. Adults are $19.50, children are $10.75, and seniors $15, with special prices for military and veterans. The changing of the guard ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is conducted every hour on the hour in winter and every half an hour during the summer months. Wheelchairs and strollers are not provided at the visitor centers but may be brought in. The ground is undulating and there are lots of ankle twisting holes throughout, so watch your step. There are several honored days. Flags and wreaths are placed on all graves during military holidays and Christmas. The Arlington National Cemetery webpage and app are an excellent source for information. There are so many graves to see, and even though I had a plan, I ran out of steam before I was able to see all the graves on my list. Take time to plan and then expect surprises. You will not be able to see all the graves in one day. For this on-the-road trip, I chose to stay at the Hyatt Regency Crystal City. It was actually less expensive than some other choices, including an Airbnb. Be aware that nothing is included with your room. That means meals or parking. There are free trams to the metro, or you can walk to one in about 10 minutes. The metro is the best way I have found to get around, and there is a station right outside Arlington Cemetery. I will provide links in my description. Lastly, I would like to thank you, fellow traveler, for joining me on a tour of the Memorial Amphitheater and watching the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Please smack that bell and subscribe and smash that like button and check out my latest video, a deep dive into Arlington Cemetery. Until then, this is Robin on the Road, your concierge for all things travel, and I hope to see you out there on a road of your own. Until then, safe travels.